Hi everyone. For those that have been following my recent videos, you probably guessed that this draft was probably inevitable. It was a draft in the making. But before we continue, if you can like, share and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. Now let's get straight into it. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. The player that I've decided to get into my team is Martin Odegaard, for the simple reason that I feel he is being overlooked massively. Last year, he played as a premium player without the premium price tag. He almost matched Mohamed Salah in terms of fantasy Premier League points, as you can see right there. Odegaard was right there, fourth in terms of points scored. And yet you look at the prices for this year, got Haaland at 14 million, Kane at 12.5, Salah at 12.5, and Odegaard, there he is, at 8.5 million. And what I find quite remarkable, actually, is that in terms of his actual ownership, so fourth last year in terms of points scored, and yet in terms of ownership right now, he's not even in the top 10 players owned. And I completely understand the logic when you've got so many different attacking assets available at Arsenal. Saka, no doubt, and it goes without saying why he's the most owned player. But then you've got Gabriel Jesus at 31.9% for Arsenal. And of course, he was injured for a large chunk of the second half of the season. So that explains why he didn't score as many points. And then, yeah, just going further down this list here, more people own Botman, Fernandes, Salah, Stones. I have to go all the way down and find him. There he is, Martin Odegaard, at 20.2% at the time of broadcasting this. And yet he matched his XG for assists. He matched his expected assists metrics last season, and he exceeded the expected goal involvements that he was due to get. But then so did many other Arsenal players. They exceeded it as well. Look at that, 23 attacking returns last season, and scored 212 points, got a lot of bonus points as well. Just makes sense to get him in. Started last year at 6.5, and he's got what, 2 million price rise. Now I get why a lot of people don't actually have him in their teams right now. It's purely due to the fact that if you want to get him in, then you may have to potentially sacrifice an Arsenal defender, or you have to really go for somewhat of an unorthodox formation. Now, I feel that 4-4-2 is the popular way at the moment for many managers, but then I feel that as a fifth midfielder, he offers like exceptional value. And you've got to basically ask yourself a very straightforward question: that is there more value having Gabriel Jesus as your third Arsenal player, or is it worth going to shoehorn Odegaard in? And I think it's the latter. And I'm going to show you some expected stats for the game weeks ahead that also justify that. But just to reiterate one more time, he was fourth best for points scored last season, not far behind Mohamed Salah. Okay, a bit behind Kane and Haaland, but look at that. He's right up there, and yet his price tag is like it's a lot less than it should be. So let's do this transfer right now. I'm going to show you how I'm going to get him in, and it does require one sacrifice, but it's a minor sacrifice in terms of the wider scheme of things with my own team. So I'll just bring up my team right now. Here we go. So I've already maxed out my budget on the current squad, and yeah, Jesus has to go. I'm not going to get rid of Saka. Yeah, I could get rid of Gabriel, but then I feel he offers great value there in defense as well. So I need to make a change here, and that change will be Saka going out. And as much as I hate it, I have to get another 4.5 million striker. And in this draft, I want to really emphasize that this is not a sustainable draft for like 8, 9, 10 game weeks. This is the kind of draft where you go for the upside of having 5 power midfielders and hope it works. And if it doesn't, you can wildcard by the first international break. So I'm going to my forwards here at 4.5 million, and there aren't many to go for. And as we know, Surridge has formally moved to the MLS, so his price is locked in. There shouldn't be any price drops there. And I'm just going to put a placeholder in for now, and it's really Archer. It's kind of the only one I can really hope for as a potential sub 2. So you've got Surridge as a sub 3, Archer as a sub 2. Hopefully get the odd cameo point, and then my sub 1 will be Baldock. So that change is made. Obviously take out Nakamba, so those 2 points on the bench won't be there for him. Going to get Martin Odegaard, and you've probably already noticed there is an issue here. I am 0.5 short on that front, which is fine. So one striker up top, then you got Saka, Odegaard, Mitoma, Fernandes, Rashford, power 5 midfield, putting all the eggs in the same basket, so to speak, for game weeks 1 to 4 in terms of going for those fixtures that those teams have. Arsenal, generous run of games. Brighton, generous run of games. United, generous run of games. And there aren't that many drafts that I've seen, if any, that have double Arsenal midfield and double Man United midfield. But I'm able to do it in this draft if I make one change. So coming to the defence, am I going to downsize Gabriel? I'm not. Stupinan? No, I'm not. Trent? No. Baldock can't go any lower there. Onana? Nope. The person I'm going to sacrifice in this squad is Stones. And the reality is that we don't know what that defence is going to be like. You'd expect Stones to start. I don't know who the other centre-back will be in that Man City team. But just based on expected stats, based on gut instinct, I need a 5.0 defender from Manchester City. And the player I'm opting for, it's really a choice between Walker, who might be leaving, Ake, and Akanji. And I know Ake's got the higher ownership, and the reality is I might still go for Ake after the Community Shield, but I'm going to go, just for now, for Akanji. I feel that he could be an option. I know Ake's got probably a bit more versatility there as well, but just as a Man City placeholder, because there are, like I've said, 2 or 3 options there, it'll be Akanji. So that levels up the budget. So there you go. I'm going to make these transfers live. Stones out, Akanji in. Nakamba out, Odegaard in. Jesus out, Archer in. And in terms of how that looks for my own team, of course, Baldock remains as my sub 1. Odegaard comes in for Archer. Straightforward swap. And then Surridge remains as the dud sub 3. I want to just mention that, like, one of the lessons learned I had from last season was sometimes I just had so many points on the bench, and I'm willing to be fairly light on the bench from the get-go. And if I need to readjust, then so be it. There are, plenty of other options available in terms of who I can get, but check this team out right now. Look at that defense. So I've got Onana, Gabriel, Trent, Stupinan, Akanji. Yeah, I know it's not Stones, but I need to make this work, and I'm willing to take that risk. But Akanji could be Walker, could be Ake as well. But it's all about this power 6. Now, got Saka, Odegaard, Fernandes, Rashford, Mitoma, and Haaland. And I feel with all of these players, they showed fantastic form last season, good run of upcoming games, and they play for teams where you expect them to score bags of goals. So I did do a video comparing Jesus to Odegaard, and I'll put the link in the description below. It was just so one-sided on the expected stats that it just didn't make sense having Jesus in, and like the Havertz factor as well. It'll be interesting to see how Jesus fits in terms of his ex-mins and the kind of role he'll be playing as well. We just don't know. Maybe the Community Shield might shed some light on that. But I'm really in awe of this front six right now. I'm just going to do a zoom. Let me just get this right. There we go. It's all about this front six for me, that there's just so much, not just the potential, but the pedigree, the form, and the goal involvements I'd expect. And look at that. The midfield have just 5 home fixtures. You'd expect Arsenal to get at least 2 goals against Forest. United at home at Old Trafford to get at least 2 goals against Wolves. Brighton against Luton, at least 2 goals. That's what the hope is. But there's something else I do want to show. And I mentioned this new way of thinking that I have. It's expected stats, which I'll show here. And this is from Drafthound that I'm demonstrating right now. So if you look at these expected stats for the next game week, look at that. Odegaard, 4th. He's up there, right at the top. Even and Grealish is there, surprisingly. But if I tweak this now for the next 3 game weeks in terms of projected the expected points, Haaland, as you'd expect, right up there, your perma captain. Mohamed Salah, no surprises there. And then the problem is we can't get, you can get Kane and you can get like Salah and Haaland in, but then let me go back to that power midfield that I just showed, that you're going to have to sacrifice probably 1 or 2 of those midfielders. You simply can't get them all in. And I've made the case that Odegaard is a premium player without the premium price tag. Why would I want Mohamed Salah if, based on last season, that, Odegaard can almost match him potentially? So with Salah, I did have him in my early drafts, but I just can't justify him. I simply can't. I might, come back to it as the deadline nears, but I feel that if I want balance, then I have to go without Salah. And this 4-4-2 for me has been the default over the past year or so, but I think 4-5-1 might be the way forward as well. And there are other strikers I'm missing out on, of course. Harry Kane, who in terms of the expected stats from Drafthound, he's up there for among the top 5 by the first 3 game weeks. But look, Odegaard, he's there again. So it's really hard for me to basically justify not having Odegaard in my team at this moment in time. And I know that in this iteration, I've got Semenyo as my sub 3. I need to work out if it'll be Semenyo or Surridge. In my actual FPL team, it is Surridge for now, so that there's no risk of a price drop. But the expected stats are very clear. The player comparison is very clear. So I want to just reiterate this again, that when it came to expected stats last year, in fact, I'll show it. I'll just show it right now for Odegaard, especially, and Arsenal. I'm just basing this on last year's expected stats. So going to the Fantasy Premier League website, expected assists for Arsenal, Odegaard 8.02, and let's remind ourselves, he got 8 assists, so he matched it. And then he's looked first there for assists for Arsenal. And then go to expected goal involvements for Arsenal, top again. But then you've got Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli pretty much the same, and they all more or less exceeded it. In his case, Odegaard got 23 goal involvements, whereas the expected metric was almost 18. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I've managed to fit Odegaard into this draft. I feel the expected stats from last season, as I've shown here, show that he's a good pick, and the expected stats from this season that are being projected for the first game week and up to the first 3 game weeks, in fact, beyond the first 3 game weeks, make a really good case for him. But it really depends on where is he going to fit in this Arsenal team. You've got Declan Rice now there, the club record fee. You've got Havertz there as well. Which players are going to lose out and which players are going to benefit? And that's a question that I don't have an answer to. But I do know that I want to make the case, well, not just make the case for Odegaard. I want to fit him into my team. And Are there other players that I could get instead of Odegaard? Yes, you can get Phil Foden in. But then I did that comparison with Phil Foden and Bruno Fernandes, for example. And Fernandes was the far superior pick. He's worth the extra million. But then I demonstrated that Odegaard, albeit it was closer, he's the better pick than Fernandes. And I thought to myself, well, you know what? I can get Bruno Fernandes. I can get Saka. I can get Rashford. I can get Mitoma. I can get Odegaard alongside Haaland. And for me, it really is about balance right now. That I want to go into the season factoring in the fixtures. I'm more of someone who likes to go for like the form players as opposed to attacking fixtures. But obviously, game week 1, you've got a blank slate. There isn't really any form at hand to gauge it all from. But apart from what they did last season and what you'd expect and project, but I can't really knock this team right now. And obviously, I'm biased. It's my own team. But as a 4-5-1, I feel it checks all the boxes. Yeah, who's the biggest miss here? Mohamed Salah, Harry Kane, Stones, but you can't have them all. And I'd rather have a balanced team with a good run of games. Okay, the bench is light, but like I've said to you, for this kind of draft, if I was to commit to it as the game week 1 deadline approaches, I know full well that this is not a sustainable draft for the long haul. It is a short-term draft. I'm attacking those early fixtures. And the reality is that a good start is a head start in FPL, and I'm willing to take that risk. And crucially, despite being influenced by expected stats, it's not like I've just gone for some wacky differentials. I've gone for players who are template players. I mean, who is my differential here? Haaland, you can template. Mitoma, template. Rashford, template. Bruno, Saka. Odegaard, you could call him. I know he's like, 20% owned, but you can make the case with him that, like, I've gone for him over Jesus. That's probably, in that sense, he's a differential, but like, I feel there is significant value in picking Odegaard over Jesus. Yeah, Stupinan 50% plus owned. You got Alexander-Arnold, Gabriel, Onana, of course, Akanji. You could call him a differential in terms of his low ownership, but it's just me having Man City cover at the end of the day. That Stones is the Man City defender I'd like, but if I've got Akanji, then so be it as well. But yeah, look, there you have it. I've gone for 4-5-1 in this updated draft, and I like it. I like it a lot. As always, if you can like, share, and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Have I done a rogue move here, or does this make perfect sense? I want to add this very important caveat that if all of a sudden by game week 1, the strikers come to the fore, then I'm going to have to potentially take hits, which is a big risk. And if there are strikers that I feel who interest me massively, who I can't accommodate for, Ollie Watkins is one without a shadow of a doubt. I think that they've got a good run of 8 games, and he will definitely benefit. And you got Diaby in that team as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. But I expect Villa to have a really fantastic start. Kane under the new manager with the attacking philosophy, I think he'll benefit as well. But then you've got Richarlison, who did well in a recent preseason friendly. You've got Kulusevski, you've got Maddison, you've got Son. Are the goals going to be shared in the Spurs team? Who knows? So that's another question that I need to factor in as well. But all in all, this is my latest update for my draft, and committed the transfers, as you can see on screen there. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. I've got some more content coming up, which will be long form again. And I might do a few more live streams between now and the game week 1 deadline. Take care and all the best, everyone. Thank you. Bye.